Fix my fucking hair.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of 40 and Fit, where we take a deep dive into the male mind on the verge of midlife crisis. My name is John Brook. I am the main host, and to my right, we have our other main host,
the non-caffeinated Dave Calari.
Non-caffeinated. You want some?
No, I just see like there's twitching happening over there.
Yeah, I'm a little tired from today.
AED in here or
I'm
what?
a little off today. I feel a little wheezy. My leg workout
like
kind of
George?
George Wheezy, just like George.
George and Wheezy?
It's what we do. We have a special guest today. Comes all the way from Brooklyn. My man, Jarred Lustgarten. Jarred, welcome.
Hey, everybody. What's going on?
How you doing today?
I'm incredible,
I
man.
feel like there should be two little dots above the A in Lustgarten. Like Lustgarten.
It should be like an accent
Or
to
with the
it.
U, like Lustgarten. Yeah, but then, like, you know.
Then you said he was Spanish. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're
Well, my mom is
your
from
mom
Puerto
is
Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Your dad is.
Yeah, my dad's a Long Island Jew.
Yeah.
It's like a 70s West Side story
Wow.
kind of
very
thing.
different, yeah.
Mazel tov.
He was an ice cream man. Here we are.
Yeah.
That's how that
So
happened.
yeah. So just a little background story. Jarred and I go back to elementary school. I was thinking about this the other day, bro. Like we met when we were in third grade.
A lot of hair ago.
A lot. Yeah, we both had hair.
Yeah.
We both had a lot of hair. It was
Yeah.
weird back then. And
John was the same size.
I was always this large. I've always been. What was my nickname growing up?
Bon.
That was the nickname, and he's
That
the
was it.
only one that keeps it going out of everyone.
When I message him now to this day, I'm like,
It's
yo,
just
Bon,
Bon
what are you doing? You know?
And what am I gonna say? What am I gonna say? No, don't do that. Like,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
At this point in my life,
Please, no, don't.
Yeah, it's all good. But
My feelings.
My feeling. My feeling.
yeah. So it was. I really wanted to bring you on because of everything that I know you've gone through and stuff like that.
Yep.
From our high school days, everything that you've gone through to moving on past what we call our ghetto life in Spring Valley, moving on up to I remember you were working at what was it, the financial company, Goldman Sachs.
Yeah, I worked at J.P. Morgan for a
J.P.
little
Morgan,
while.
that's
yeah.
what I remember that. And I was like,
That
whoa,
was
he was
cool.
working there. And then all of a sudden now you own your own carpet cleaning business, which I was like, this is dramatically different from me. So I was like, well, I want to know what you were doing and stuff like that, right? But before we even go into your story and your life and how you've evolved and the fitness aspect of your life, big question we always ask on this podcast, right? Do you believe in the midlife crisis? Have you gone through a midlife crisis? And if you did, what have you done to get out of it? What do you feel about that stuff?
That's like 4 questions.
It is.
Just saying.
It's clearly
it's
midlife
Passover.
crisis.
The Puerto Rican Jew, it's Passover now. Okay, 4 questions. Here we go. All right, the midlife
Survey
crisis.
says.
Yeah, midlife crisis.
Midlife crisis.
Yes, I believe it does exist. What was the second question?
If you believe in it, does it bring you gifts?
Does it bring me gifts?
Is it like a bench on the bench?
Yeah. What was it, Hanky, the Christmas poo? The other guy, right? No, it definitely exists, 100%.
Do you feel you've gone through it in the
Oh,
past?
yeah.
And what if you did? What happened? Or you don't have to go deep into it.
No,
but
I can go wherever.
Yeah,
I
let's
think.
just go.
Well, here's just my experience, my opinion. So it's real to me,
That's what it's all about.
right? So I think what happened for me, and I can see it happening to a lot of other people who are in the soup that we're in, right? Is like eventually, you realize that like it's not an equation. Life is not an equation. Like you think, 2 + 2 is going to equal 4. But then like, as you start to put that kind of stuff together, life doesn't comply.
Right.
And then you have to surrender to it. Be like, wait a minute, no, because I'm doing A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Why isn't everything
working?
falling
Right.
into place? And then just that process of surrendering to that is what I think the crisis is. Because the crisis is not to get Freudian. It's like of your ego. It's like, bro, if I'm doing this, then my partner has to be doing this, or the job has to be doing this, or like whatever. And like, eventually you learn a lot of times the hard way that it's not the way it goes. It's not the way it goes. So for me, I had a kid very early in my life. Like it was like 3 months before my 16th birthday, my son was born. And yeah, kid took a deep breath. But that is real life, you know.
Listen, it was for us. I remember all of us talking about
Yeah.
it, and we were like, freshman year, right? We're like, what?
Yeah, it's real
Like,
life.
What's happening?
Well,
Like,
that's the
You
thing.
guys
way.
were one short on the basketball team, I guess.
Yeah, it was bad.
Wrestling baseball team.
Wrestling, baseball. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I did wrestling. I did baseball. I did
Football.
football,
Yeah.
So we needed
karate.
one-
We did everything.
Karate.
I
He
needed
did
to.
karate too.
Yeah, we did all. We did it all. But like, yeah. So for me, you know, that was, I wouldn't say a pivotal point, but that was like an accelerant. Like I was like, oh, I got this kid, and you know, what am I gonna do? I got to go chase the bag.
Yeah.
Right. That's in my mind, that was like always the answer. Like my dad is the Jew, right? So chase the bag, chase the bag, right? So and that's what I did. And then I ended up, you know, I ended up like on Wall Street, and I was like a stockbroker, and I lived that whole life. You know, it was like madness, you know. But, you know, moving along, you know, you start to realize, well, like, I woke up one day and I was like, dude, it was like maybe in like my mid-20s. I had a huge drug and alcohol problem. Everything that you see on television, it's true.
Right.
Like I lived that whole thing, right? So like, and I was like a madman. Nobody could say no. And it was nice. It was. It was nice. But then eventually, whatever, I got myself cleaned up. I got sober. I was like 24 years old. I'm 43 right now. Haven't had a drop or anything since. But the truth is that, so now I say to myself, okay, now I have this new life, right? I'm sober. I'm a single dad. I got custody of my kid. He was like 8 or 9 years old.
Oh, you got custody.
Yeah,
Oh.
like my son lived, I was a weekend dad until he was about 8. Then they moved to North Carolina, and then I got custody of him. So it was just, it was him and I had a girl I was living with at the time. So in my mind, again, going back to the original point, here's the equation, right?
Right.
Okay, now I'm sober. You know, we have, you know, some money coming in. I'm basically like a Brooklyn yuppie, right? I'm living in Park Slope. We got the brownstone
Wow.
apartment. We got the whole thing, new car, like everything, right? No, again, nobody could say no, right? But what happens is that like stops complying, right? All of a sudden, this, you know, the girl, you know, at 24, who could pick a partner at 24?
Yeah.
Is it like, you know,
Really
even
not
at
even-
34,
Right.
in hindsight, you're thinking, because I'm like, I'm not even evolved enough to know what is going on at 24, but, you know, like our parents are from
Old school
another
days.
time.
Yeah.
They're from another world. No, you get married, you have kids, you buy
Yeah,
a house, you
you
do
have
the
a
right
job,
thing.
right.
Yeah, all this shit. And then I started to have like almost like a breakdown. You know, I was like, I don't want this life. I don't want this woman. I'm stuck with this kid, and blah, 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 blah. So then a little bit at a time,
Looking
I
for
started.
receipts.
Yeah,
He wants to return things.
bro, it was like coming out of a blackout inside somebody else's life, and I wasn't really happy. So a little
Was this
bit at a
when
time.
you were while you were sobering up? Did this
Oh.
start happening while you were sobering,
Yeah.
or you were already?
Yeah, no. When I was drinking, you know, you're not even, bro. When I mean alcoholic, I mean like alcoholic. So, what is it? What's this guy that had that movie, The Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah.
Like that kind of madness.
Jordan.
That was, yeah.
DiCaprio.
Belfort.
Yeah,
Belfort.
DiCaprio, Jordan Belfort. I don't even watch any of those movies. Then it's none of it's like triggering for me. But like a lot of stuff is like cinematic. It's almost like you know your way around the ring.
Yeah.
And you watch Rocky, you're like, come on, bro.
Yeah. Why would you do that?
Yeah, come on, bro. It
That
doesn't
doesn't
exist.
happen.
Yeah, so that's how getting into my 30s. So I think maybe because I had my son so early.
You started early. Yeah.
Right,
Your life had
that
to start
crisis that we're talking about happened
earlier.
in my 30s
Yeah.
instead of like my 40s or whatever.
No. It totally makes sense. So this is just sticking on my head. Going back, let's go back to like right when you had Devin, your son, right?
Yeah.
I'm just curious because I was there when a lot of this was, there's a whole bunch
Not
of
when
us.
he was born.
Not when he was
I was
born,
gonna
I
say,
was
was
in
the,
the room.
was the mother okay
I
with
know, I know
that?
you're Filipino. You guys are all the
We're all
nurses.
kinda all over the
What was that?
place.
One of your aunties was in the hospital.
She had pictures and everything.
Yeah, children's
But-
extra large gowns for him.
But I was always curious as to what were you thinking at that time what was going? I was always because we were like
Thinking. Yeah, no. Here's what happened. Here's how it goes. To ask an adolescent person to do any kind of thinking is it's.
I'm not asking the adolescent person. I'm asking you what you was going through. But I was just wondering what was going through your head at the time.
Here's what happened. All right, so, my best friend at the time, and he's still like my bro. I love him all the way to death. Jason Peoples.
Oh,
right?
you still talk to Jay Peoples?
Yeah,
yeah,
he's great. So periodically I speak to him, but he's a good person. He was like kind of playing footsie with my sister, and I was a little bit pissed off. My sister's like 2 years older than us, same age as Philip, right? So he's like playing, you're all teenagers, like who's doing? So I got mad at him, so I was like, I'm gonna mess with your sister, and a baby came out. So like that's how that happened, right? So there was no like.
How do you guys play footsies?
Yeah, with your hand. So it was just all in the soup of like junior high school,
right,
but with like real life consequences. So what happened for me was that, my parents, like they didn't even acknowledge that like my kid was around. They were just like, dude, we are not. My mom's like, I'm not gonna be here watching your kid while you're out there running around in the street, hanging out with your friends. You need to take responsibility.
Were they mad,
actions.
or are they just trying to like teach you how to be responsible at such a young age?
Right. So I think they were. In reality, my mom was probably a little bit ashamed. Right.
Okay.
And then my dad, who knows, right? The dads don't even talk. They just they like grunt, right? So, in hindsight, they did the right thing by making me more self-reliant. But at the same time, it put me in a spot where, in my mind, this is when I thought I needed them the most, and they like abandoned me. So like I just went like full steam ahead, So I didn't really. There was no time for like. There just wasn't any time. Like you got this little kid, and it's easy when you're young because all you got to do is diaper and milk money. But then as the kid gets older, man, you want Little League, you want summer camps, you want all this thing that costs like
more money. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to make it happen.
And it's just weird. Like I don't remember having any money in my early 20s, and I'm like, how would you do that with even having a kid, man? Like
no. Well, that's what happened. So like when I started working in finance, like. It was before I was even done with high school. I got a job on like a trading floor, and I was like a clerk down there. And then when I became like a stockbroker, I was 20 years old when I passed my Series 7, 21. I was making like 150 grand.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what. Remember, nobody could say no.
So that's even mind blowing at like 21.
In my mind, there was no other. It's almost like, all right, like I have my own business now, and everybody has their own things. And I think what happened. What was beneficial for me at that time is that like, your dreams, they have to be like delusional, they have to be if you really want to try and be great. So when I was that young, I was like, bro, I'm chasing the bag, and I want the glory. I want the women. I want the whole thing. And obviously I want my kid, but that was like the motivation, so in a sense, it pushed me forward in ways that if I just went through a normal life, I don't think I would have matured as fast.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I think you were put on this path. God made you, put you on this path for a reason. I think that you definitely, just us speaking behind the scenes, everything, that there's a bigger picture for you. And I truly believe it's obvious. It's clear. That's why I'd love to dive into this a little bit more. So moving on from why did you leave finance if you were making that much money? Was it just miserable? What? And then, like, how did you get into carpets?
Well, here's the thing. So, like, I was, when you're a stockbroker on the telephone, what's the saying? Like, you're selling fast stories to slow-thinking people, right? You're just kind of shucking and jiving. And even if you're doing the right thing, and I always operated a little bit in the gray area, right? But, you just get burnt out of just fighting with people on the phone and convincing them and whatever. And then as I got more into sobriety and recovery, I had a moral compass that was showing up. Like God was like changing me against my will. Mm-hmm. Like phone calls that were very easy to make were becoming tougher and tougher and tougher and tougher.
Right.
So then I was like, so I went from there to, I was like, let me just go sit in a bank. Because I had these licenses, like, dude, I could walk into any bank. I never went to college or any of that kind of stuff. But if you have a license to handle money, any bank you walk in, You know, they'll give you like 50, 60 grand. You sit in the corner. Somebody comes in. They want an annuity. You're the guy, right? So, but it was like very mind numbing. And that was like when the financial crisis was happening. And like, I just, you know, I didn't want to, I felt like I was taking from humanity. Like I was just taking. I was there for myself. I was helping people a little bit when I can. I ended up getting fired from J.P. Morgan Chase, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, yeah. It was all right. I'll tell the story because it's like it's past what do they call statute?
Statute of limitations.
Yeah. Okay, so here was the thing, and they'll never see it. You know, even so, like well, Jamie Dimon, well, he doesn't know. Anyway, so you used to get these coupons in the mail, right? That said, oh, open a checking account, and you get $100, right, from Chase. So they had the people, the bank has these unrealistic goals that they want for you to achieve. They're saying the whole branch has to open 100 checking accounts every month, blah, 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 right? Which is crazy. They're like, so you have to go.
Manufacturing people.
Yeah, it was wild. So like they wanted you to go out into businesses and, you know, hook up people, direct deposit, whatever. So this is a crazy story. So it wasn't crazy when it was happening, but when I tell it, people are like, wow, this is crazy. So what me and my friends did, people that I worked with, we figured out ways to manipulate the coupon code so I can turn one coupon into like 30.
Wow.
Right? So then what we would do was we had to entice people to open these checking accounts. So I would go, and this is like before like super gentrification, right? So we would go uptown into like Washington Heights and into Harlem and into these areas where this is where like kind of like Robin Hood happens. So like I would go there and we go into like a cell phone store, right? And there's like 2 Dominican kids working there, or whatever, and we'd say, and I speak like maybe 75% Spanish,
yeah.
But I would go with this Ecuadorian kid who was like super fluent. So I was white in a fucking crisp ass suit with the hair and the whole thing, Hickey Freeman, everything. And this guy, he, you know, so I almost like legitimized him and he legitimized me. Mm-hmm. So we say, listen, you guys are working in this store. That check cashing on the corner is killing you. And you don't need to go there. You can come to our bank. We will set up all this stuff for you, a checking account, a savings account. We're like giving them like financial literacy. And they would be like, no, you're bullshitting. I'd be like, no, here's $100 with the stolen coupon code. And that's how we would entice them to come to the branch. And it was working, you know?
Wow.
And so what we were doing is we were doing that, but that's obviously stealing money from the bank, you know? So, but it was nice because, like, so now you get a kid in theory, but this was actually, I don't remember anybody's name. So you got one kid works in a cell phone store. Maybe his girl works in the supermarket bagging groceries, right? So now they have a little baby, right? Just typical, regular New York City story. They would come, we hooked them both in. They would come down to our branch on 57th Street and Park Avenue, which was like hedge fund alley, right? And they would come see their banker, and we would set up like 529 college plans for their kids and everything, and it would give them like validation.
Wow.
And there'd be guys in there with like all their suits buttoned up to here, and then these 2 kids, and we'd be, because they come from, you know, a cycle of cashing checks in a check cashing place or at the liquor store. They would go to like a check cashing place to pay their bills.
Right.
Like, dude, like no way. Like you can actually, you know, you don't have to do that. And it's okay. And they were like a little bit intimidated because you're in the middle of Midtown, but like we would make them feel comfortable. Yeah. And yeah, but then, you know, the bank found out and they fired me. After we got them all these cuts, they're like, what? You can't take our money and give it to those people? And then that was it. So, you know, from there.
They were legitimately opening up the accounts though, right?
Yeah, no, but $100 wasn't legit. Yeah, so anyway, so I did that.
Were all those people allowed to keep those accounts once you guys
100%.
were? All right, good.
100%. They cleared out my whole branch because everybody in my branch, we were all doing it.
Ah, shit.
Yeah,
wow.
except for the manager. The manager, he was like, you know, he wasn't, but he was an incredible guy. And when I mean like a real business manager where he's like hands off, but not like, he was macro, not micromanaging. Mm-hmm. So he didn't know the whole thing, but we were having successes. And he was a black dude, person of color. So he was happy that we were bringing people in of all, I don't want to say the wrong thing. So he was happy that we were inviting other neighborhoods into where we are. It made him like proud, and it made the branch really look good, except for the stolen money part. You know?
All that, and then
Yeah.
stolen
So
money
anyway,
part.
so they got rid of me, and then I did a couple of things, and then to fast forward, I was just getting burnt out from the whole thing. So I answered an ad on Craigslist. It said, carpet cleaners, no experience necessary, $1,000 a week, right? So I took the
Wow.
job, and I was like, because I was like, dude, I have 2 years of not using my Series 7 until it expires.
Oh.
So I was like, I can do this and see what happens, and that's how I tumbled down that rabbit hole.
You
know?
just started working for a private company or just a guy on the side?
Oh my God, it was a company in Long Island. Like they were like the worst. I don't know is there anything good on Long Island? I don't know, but
Montauk.
Right.
yeah, Sag Harbor. Yeah. No, but like when you
beach, yeah.
when you have a company, right? Any kind of like salesy kind of company, you're like, oh yeah, we're out on the island right away. You're like, fuck, are they selling noodles, used cars? Like, what are they doing, right?
Right.
Carpet cleaners. Like, so, but no, I worked for this company. They hired me right away. There was definitely not $1,000 a week, but and they only trained me for like 2 days, and they started sending me into people's houses. Right. But here's the thing for me, like I loved, it was like very emotionally gratifying. Like you go into somebody's house, their couch looks fucking crazy. You show up, you clean it. It looks great. You leave, they pay. Right. You kind of driving around and, I'm not sitting behind a cubicle with some guy in the thumb. Where are those quarterly reports? Like that's like part of my life is over, and I'm just like, wow, I just want to do this. And, yeah, so I did that for like 3 months, and I remember when I finally quit. This fucking guy, right? No, 'cause now I'm reliving, right? I'm gonna bring the Lord into here somewhere. We're gonna need him. So this guy, the day that I quit, right? I was like, I said, listen, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to bring the equipment back, and they loved me for one reason, because like, when you work in finance or whatever, there's no being late.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't exist. And when I worked on Wall Street in those places, like, dude, they were like Navy SEALs. They used to be like, dude, we want you on the phone at 7 a.m. If it's 6:45 and you're still on the train, just stay on. Don't come in. That's it. You're late.
Wow.
There is no late. Like, they were like very, the market opens at this time, it closes at this time, and, whatever. So I'm very punctual, and that's like 90% of life.
Right.
Showing up on time.
I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah. So when I quit, I was like, listen, I got to bring your equipment back. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much. The guy actually had the nerve to tell me, he says, yeah, I don't think this business is cut out for you. I don't think this is a good thing for you. He, not knowing that I'm going to start my own business, and I'm going to crush it.
Is it your business isn't cut out for you?
Right. Yeah, like your little thing, like, So it was funny because then I saw him like a few years later, and he was like, oh, I remember you, Lustgarten. I was like, yeah, rug life, motherfucker. Like,
Wow.
Yeah.
So you literally just how'd you start off? Like how did this entrepreneurship?
Remember, like when I was saying delusional, right?
Yeah.
Delusion.
Yeah, Jesus.
So I borrowed like $600 from my dad. I bought a used machine. My best friend is a tattooer. He printed up some flyers, and I pounded the pavement. And I was relentless. And I wouldn't take no for an answer, but I knew from working on Wall Street, like when you're selling things on a telephone, you realize that success is a mathematical equation and nothing else. You can bend those numbers to your will, but if you stood out there on the corner with flyers, it could be 1,000 or 10,000, but the phone is guaranteed to ring. So I just knew I had to work those numbers, and I did not stop. And a little bit at a time, my son, he would go to school. He'd come out of school. We'd have these flyers, and we'd put them everywhere. I would, and I just used that. And then what I think really started separating me from other guys in my business was that we show up on time. Nobody smells like cigarettes. I wear all the intangibles. We wear booties. My name is on our shirt. We're like professional. Where normally, like, you get a service guy in your house. At that time, I've had my business 11 years. But at that time, the guy's showing up. He just had an egg sandwich. He's wiping off the crumbs. Like, yeah, he smells like a Black and Mild. And then he's gonna clean your couch, right? Like, bro, get out of here. Yeah. So that's what I did, and that's what I think allowed me to keep going.
You kept it as clean and straight out as well. How did you build your how did you build your team? How big is your team now or your business now?
Well, we have one. Well, here's the thing. Over time, you evolve into. We were talking about this before, about creating quality of life for the guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 2 full-time technicians, but full-time in our company is each one works only 4 days, and that's it, right? And they get paid enough that's all that they have to work, right? We got a lady full-time answering the phone. I'm running part of the show. My lady does the book. She keeps an eye on the accountant because you need that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just, you kidding? The accountant is like a.
They could manipulate these numbers. Yeah,
forget it. The accountant's like a squeaky wheel, man. He'll make it work, and you can't. No. So So initially, I started out just by myself, and then it grew, and we had 4 or 5 trucks at a time. But then I scaled it back for better margins. As I became a better business person, that I was making legitimate money.
Right.
Paying taxes and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay. Just not cash on the side.
No, I'll still take it. I'll take the cash.
It's a better margin.
But I think what's important is that just the mindset when you have again the delusion that there has to be a good percentage of ego, because people. I remember I would go on these chat boards because I didn't even know how to really clean anything, and I had to take classes, and I invested tens and tens of thousands of dollars to get educated on chemistry and all these other stuff. But there were people telling me, you're starting a carpet cleaning business in the middle of the winter? What are you, stupid? You're going to fail, and you're going to be this and that. And I would go nuts with the flyers and going into pet stores and petting every dog, almost like I'm running for office, giving out business cards, because I know that if you have a dog, the dog pees on something, I get the pee out, I make money, right? So I just did not, I wouldn't allow that to seep into my mentality. You can't. So I would say all right, there's other people who do what I do, but there is no competition. There is none. It's fucking me. Do you understand? I say this to myself, and it's me, bro. That's it. Somebody's out there making money right now. So it got to be us. So when you have that, you can't lose.
Yeah. No, you keep yourself ahead of the game and on top of this entire heap. Wow, that's deep. That's one of those things that we look for. I have to say that I look for people with that mentality. That's why I did surround myself with people like Dave and Andrew at this point, because it's I was going through this weird part where in a weird lull, right? And you kind of feel. I felt kind of useless, I'll be honest with you, when going through my whole thing in the last couple of years. And I'm just wow, I'm completely doing nothing with myself. I don't think I was, everyone's oh, you know what you're doing. I'm I know what I'm doing. Just don't feel like it's useful. I don't think I'm being useful to the world. And I think that mentality of saying that, the knowledge that we have, the things that we have, the things that we could offer, we are the one. And I truly believe that, bar none, hands down, people I talk to in this gym, everyone's we all just refer, when we talk about nutrition, everyone goes back to Dave. It's you want to know about nutrition? Dave's the only person you could talk to. Dave is the only person that you have to talk to. It's no, there's no other person. It's Dave. I don't know why you're asking about anything else. It's Dave. I don't know what are you doing? Dave. RPM nutrition.
I'm not qualified.
Right.
It's Dave.
It's just Dave. No one else is qualified either.
Right.
That's just what it is. They may have certifications.
Yeah.
But they're not Dave.
Garbage.
Right? Who?
Garbage.
They're garbage.
Basura.
Basura. That's exactly what I was going to say. The basura. But yeah, and it's weird to have this mentality, because you watch Gary Vee also?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a bunch of stuff. I got so deep into Gary Vee for a little bit, where he has that no fucks given type of drive in his head, right? And I'm man, that guy's a year older than we are. I'm what am I doing wrong? Right? I'm wow, why am I not doing this? And I've always needed that. I realized for myself, there's certain things that I know that I'm good at and things that I need. I need that drive. I need someone to say, no, you're that good. You can actually do this better than the other person. I don't know why I need it. I just thought I could motivate myself, but apparently I can't. Wow, I just realized that I can't. It's a little off-putting sometimes when I think about it.
You're gonna give him a hug?
No, he doesn't.
We don't need hugs here. No. It's again, I get my own self-motivation at that point. But yeah, I appreciate mentalities like that when they come on to guys like you that come onto the show, truly believe it. And that's why, I liked knowing more about what you had to go through and stuff like that. That's pretty awesome.
Well, I think also what's important is to know that I have all of those same thoughts and those same feelings. Like, that's why I know, I need other people in my life. This is like, nobody does it alone. It's all assisted living, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I need that because I have to look at the facts. The facts are that I put in the work. That's what the facts are.
Mm-hmm.
And what else is a fact? That my motivation went from stealing money on the telephone to, like, helping people in a community. Like, the pivot happened in my moral compass. So even when I started my cleaning business, it wasn't about how much money can I make. Like, I knew that that's a failing mentality. It's like, okay, how many people can I help? How many homes can I leave that are happy? The money will take care of itself. But if I go there with that kind of energy, instead of like bait and switch kind of stuff, and, my business has an incredible reputation. And it's not because my name is attached to it. It's because our purpose is that everybody have a good experience, even if it's with somebody else.
Right.
I'll go there, and if it's like, listen, if this is not something that we can handle, or if, whatever, we will walk away. You don't have to pay us. It's okay. We want you. You can call somebody else. We don't even get mad. It's totally fine.
Right.
Because we want you to have a good experience. So we're just going to try our best. But, part of the entrepreneurial mind, it's like, thank God there's no, like, whatever medication for that will dull that, because you want to have that doubt that says, I'm not doing enough. I'm never doing enough. Not that I'm not making enough, not that I'm not happy enough, but there's always that little voice inside that says, you could be better. You could be great. And it gnaws at me. Sometimes you wish it would turn off.
Yeah.
But that's what happens, and then you're just like, okay, well, if I can't turn it off, who can help me put it together?
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. I used to think I could do it on my own. Like, I don't need help. But then I started questioning everything. Like, am I the only one thinking these crazy things? Like, so, I said this before on the podcast, obviously. The whole, we were talking about music outside before, right? And how it brings me back, right? And it's like, I was when I listen to certain music, it just brings me back. I'm like, wow, I was so good. I felt so good back then. How come I don't feel good now? What's wrong with you? Where's the big disconnect, right? And that's where I always go into that whole midlife crisis thing. I'm like, am I not supposed to be going through this? Am I going the wrong direction? Did I pivot the right way? Am I messing up, or did I pick the wrong partner? Was I supposed to have kids? Was I supposed to go into this field? All these weird, and I'm just like, wow, I really, really question myself. Well, everyone else is saying, no, man, you know what you're doing. You've been doing this forever. You've been doing this stuff forever. Like, why? Just. And I'm just like, yeah, but
they're not in here.
Right. They
don't hear the
I'm like
voice.
talking to myself. Yeah, it's weird. It's those voice. I'm just like, I had it today. I had it today. I was like, man, how come why didn't things just happen yet? But then I know that I always have to tell myself every day lately, it's like, just stay the course. Stay the course. Just keep going. Stay the course. It's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Something bigger is going to happen. That's why I just didn't accept random jobs that I did get offered. I'm like, I got offered 3 other jobs. I'm like, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that, man. Not worth it. Not worth my time. I have more to give than just that. And so it's just weird when you take a look back at those things where, well, I do at least, and I really, really, again, it still happens, man. I feel like, whoa. Even bringing you on, I was like, man, remember that time? Oh man, I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking about the first time I got high and drunk at the same time.
It wasn't with me, right?
You were there. You were there. You were there, unfortunately. Right. But I was already high and drunk before you got there. But you brought more Budweiser.
Sure. I'm scrapped up.
It was with Mark and Dave Levine.
Oh yeah,
Mark Volper and Dave Levine. I remember that, and I was just like, that's what weird. Just thinking about. I don't know why that was the first thing I thought about.
Right.
When I think about us, it was the first time I got high and drunk, and I was laying in the middle of the street, and I was like, why? I don't know why.
He was the same size.
It was a lot of weed.
Yeah.
Same size lying down as he is standing up.
He's like a brown soupy mess. You know. I think what you're talking about though is like, you know, with the best way that when I think about that midlife crisis that you're saying is like, to me, it felt like betrayal. Like it was just like life had betrayed me because I was doing doom.
Yeah.
I know how to live my life. What is this bullshit?
Like, how dare you? Like, that's what, you know what I'm saying? That's what you'd be like, how dare you? But then it's almost, you know, you realize when you come out of that, you know, it's an awakening. You say, no, it's even, God forbid I don't have all the answers. That's a lot of pressure that, you know, that driven people put on themselves, you know, and then eventually the really successful ones are it's not about cash prizes, whatever. It's about the happiness,
right.
You know, like I have my business and then, you know, we do some real estate stuff that we get into, like whatever. Like my job is to purchase back my own free time. That's why I pay my employees. I shouldn't even call them that, but I do, and I'm sorry. I call them employees when I want them to be. Listen, when they screw something up, right?
They're employees.
And it's mathematical equation. We clean 200 couches a month. We have to go touch up 1 or 2 because nobody's perfect. So that's why I say to the client, like, oh, you want employees, but you get humans. They go, ha, ha, ha. And then we go there and we fix it, right? But I could make a lot more money by just knocking one of them off. You know, say, okay, we don't need you, and I can just pick up the slack here, and we can do this. But then, dude, I take off any day I want to take off. Any day. Any 3 days. Any 5 days. You know, I set up systems that are in place, and it only comes by not being cheap.
Right.
And by and valuing other people.
The people that work for you,
knowing that I need these guys, that they're on the front lines. So when they tell me something, I'm like, you know, kind of like the general. You know, I believe what they say because they're out there cleaning, you know, couches and rugs and stuff every single day. If I bust out the machine, it's maybe once a week, you know, I'll make a couple $100, send my girl and the kids to go get their nails done and whatever. Pay me cash, they have free. But that's what it's about, finally realizing
freedom, man.
That freedom, but also because the freedom comes from cooperation. We're all going to do it together, you know? But before that, it was just my incessant need to control. I needed to have all the answers because my dad had all the answers, not to get Freudian, right? Like my dad had all the answers for everything. Meanwhile, he fucking knew nothing.
Yeah, if you asked him today, he'd be like, I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
My parents never taught me like, okay, my parents never spoke to us about money. They never spoke to like any of these other things that like I actively teach my kids. Like, look, this is how Big Daddy Jarred fucked up the bag 2 or 3 times, you know? But there was never that level of honesty or even emotional honesty.
Yeah.
You know, you weren't even
That's
allowed
huge.
to like really cry like in your house.
Yeah.
My dad would be like, what? Do some push-up, whatever. You know? And to just even not raise your kids in that environment, that is the ultimate success. You know, if it takes going through the midlife crisis or whatever, and that's what it takes to have that awakening, to be like, no, man, I can be my authentic self.
Talk about your dad. You know, Dave's brought this up before with his dad, and I always thought about it with my own dad. I'm like, I don't remember my dad ever telling me he loved me, right? I really thought about that. I go, do you remember your dad ever telling you he loves you? It was just weird for me. Like, I don't remember it.
Yes. When I was a kid, I'd be like, yo, Pop, I love you. You'd say, thank you. That was the response.
It's like, oh, wow.
That was the fucking response. You know, he'd be there eating Cheez-Its and shit, watching TV. I'm like, Dad, I love you. But thank you. And he wondered why, like, you know, I was eating mushrooms and all kind of shit. Maybe I was looking for that, you know. But I think they're from a different time.
Yeah.
Also.
It's just weird because I remember you were saying that, you know, you wish
he did that. He did all that stuff. It was more.
Or he didn't.
He was always supportive. But he never was like, hey, that's very interesting. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah.
He was one of those, like, I remember when I was playing hockey in high school and I was in the Ridgewood News. There's a big picture of me and then, like, the story. And he must have made like 8,000 fucking copies of that thing. I don't know what he was doing, like handing them out like flyers or what, but he had like in the office hanging up on his desk, and he just kept making copies. All he would have had to say was, "Hey, Dave, it's really great that you're in the paper. I didn't think I'd ever see my son in the paper for playing sports, just anything." But it was just, like he did it how I guess made him feel good about it. But it wasn't necessarily about making him feel good. I was the one who did it. Fucking make me feel good about it.
Yeah. No, it's weird because even like that, like I did. Me and my brother, we did pretty good things. I guess we did. I thought we did pretty good things for the community, and I don't remember getting acknowledged for anything. I'll be honest with you. And like, I don't know if my dad will ever listen to this at all, but I'm like, I don't remember that at all. And it's weird. I remember my mom all the time, but like I remember my dad calling me stupid and just making me feel worthless. I remember that. Like that really sticks out in my head. Doing like just little mistakes, turning on the water while he's messing with the heater. Like I don't fucking remember doing that part, but I did. I turned the faucet on by mistake. He said, "God, you're so stupid." I go, "Wow, that really hurt."
Should have just turned the water on some more.
At the time, maybe I would have, but then I was like, "Thanks, Dad." I just walked away. I was like, why am I? I felt like crap, right? And I feel like that definitely. I know, like right now, as a dad, I'm very, very straightforward with my kids. Like I'm very black and white with them. When it comes to almost everything, I'm like, nope, this is how I need you to communicate with me. This is there's the gray area is not easy for me at all. And if you want to be able to communicate, this is how we communicate. And my kids have learned how to do that with me. Oh, sort of. They're teenagers now, so they're kind of bending the rules at this point.
Yeah, but then here's the other thing. For me, similar stories, right? Like, my dad will make everything about him. I don't even know if he can not do that, right? I don't even know if he's like, whatever. But, my relationship with him is okay now. Before it was like unbearable, where like I knew that there was this tension that we didn't even have to speak to each other, but even on the telephone, like you could feel it. But then for me, like I really worked on, and a lot of this stuff has to do with like recovery and AA and all this other shit that I do there. But like I learned to forgive him for not giving me something that he don't have.
Right.
He don't have it.
Right.
Like he don't, so he's not even doing it on purpose.
It wasn't talked to him.
Yeah.
His dad didn't give him that.
He's not like, hey, look, I have all this love, but no, I'm not going to give it to my son because I want to punish him. But in my mind, first of all, I can't even imagine that you were that cognitive that you had your feelings hurt. I don't even remember my feelings being hurt. My dad just called me stupid ass all the time. Like that was like my fucking name.
Yeah, I mean he didn't. That's his name.
Yeah.
He didn't acknowledge a lot of things.
Right.
So when he did acknowledge it, and it was that negative. It stuck out to me.
Sure. And the thing is, I think also it made me a better human. Forget about like better dad, like whatever. Because I'm a great dad depending on which kid you ask until one day, like, and whose Cash App is blah, 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 right? Where the Uber Eats is going, then I'm the fucking king.
Yeah.
But what I learned was similar to what you're saying, like I need acknowledgement and validation. And even when my kids are saying something to me and I'm like, bro, that is fucking fiction, But in their mind, in their little life, it's 100% real to them.
Right.
So instead of me being like, oh, because you're 22, you think you have it figured out, but you don't. You're just a fucking dumbass and you should be doing ABC. Like, I just be like, I try to find a different way of not just like brushing them off, where if I can plant the seed and then they come and figure it out on their own, even if it takes a couple, like, oh shit, this guy fucking told me I should have been saving my money,
Yeah.
Instead of being like, you dumbass,
They don't listen at that point because I know I apparently I didn't listen either. Maybe he did say something and I just didn't listen to that part.
You
But
can't.
it's just weird because I feel like I look at my kids all the time and I'm like, you're so not listening to anything that's coming out of my mouth. I've said this over and over, and I hate repeating myself. I'm so the person. I hate. If I have to repeat myself a third time, I'm done. You're just gonna get reamed no matter what.
Right.
That's just the way I am, and I try to fix it. I'm very aware of it, but I also I don't want to pull back on that because that's what makes me me at this point for in front of them at least. So yeah, it's just I was just thinking about that because I also do remember your dad, because you were pretty big in baseball at the time of us growing up.
Yeah.
And your dad was a big part of that of your sports.
Yeah, he was the
all your
coach.
Sports. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
My dad was the coach that would like. It wasn't out of bounds for him to get in a tussle with another coach. It's like the 80s. You know,
this is Little League. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Like Bobby Valentine.
Exactly. But it's in the 80s. That's how like, you know, these parents, man, they must have been under so much pressure. You know, they're like, oh, I have this, you know, I have like this mortgage and I got these kids. And then maybe the guy's wife is yapping in his ear the whole time. And then the ump makes a bad call and that's where it all comes out, right?
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, the whole thing is like, you know, when the reality is that his fucking wife ran up the credit cards for the 6th month in a row. His boss fucking hates him. You know, one of his kids running slow out there, dropping the ball, picking up what are those
the dandelions.
Yeah, come on. And then like it all comes down to that one baller strike, and then that's it. The ump gets a fucking.
And he just unloads. Yeah.
Oh,
How am I supposed to pay these credit card bills if you can't even hit it down the middle?
yeah, exactly. You'll never make it to Brown. You failed the math test. It's funny because, all right, I'll tell this story. John remembers, okay, high, drunk, whatever. This is what I remember. We were in maybe the 8th grade, and I don't know if you remember this. Yeah. I prank called John's house, making pretend that I was the Spanish teacher.
I remember that, actually.
And I made pretend I was the Spanish teacher, and I was like, I spoke to his parents, like, yo, John is the best student. He's doing all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And I just like hung up on them. And I was like, yo, John, I called you out last night.
I remember that. I'm like, I was wondering. I was like, I don't even get it. Like, why would they ever call my house?
Were your parents proud of you though? Like,
Yeah,
John.
my mom was ecstatic. I
That's so
remember
funny.
that. I was like, oh, that was a good moment in my life. It happened for one class
Yeah.
out of 8. It's like, that's the one I got in Spanish. I'm like, oh, it's because I'm Filipino, man.
Yeah, that's how it is. Like I said, you got to do that, or what are they want you all to be nurses, right? Is that the whole thing?
They wanted me to do something completely different in life. Like, I'm the outcast of the family no matter what. So it doesn't
How
matter.
dare you?
At this point, who cares?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, like because your brother, I always joke.
Yeah,
with,
he's
from
a superstar.
Hogwarts.
Yeah, he's a superstar of the
Fucking guy.
family. It's fine. I love my brother though. Like we've gotten so much closer over the years, so it doesn't matter. Like
It's such a good thing because you guys both come from the same dirt,
yeah,
you know, and then you're allowed to be you now.
Yeah, it took him going to college for us to get close. Like we
Sure.
hated each other in high school. I hated
You
each
guys
other.
close in age?
He's 2 years older than I am, and we hated each other. Like he refused to be seen with me. We refused to be seen with each other, and but we really didn't even run in the same circles. I mean, I knew Filipinos.
At
He knew
all.
Filipinos. We didn't have the same circles. But once he went to college, and it was like, oh man, he's not in the house anymore. This is
And he
weird.
was like a high achieving, high functioning guy.
Yeah.
Just like, I had an older sister. She's not with us anymore, but it was the same thing.
Yeah.
Where like
They were
they're the same age, and John and I were the same age. So they're both like honor society.
Yeah.
My sister went to Duke and like the whole thing, and I'm over here with John Soupy in the street drunk, like you know, making prank calls about the Spanish teacher. You know, so it was that.
Yeah,
It was that, man. So, but here's the thing, like this, you know, I loved, you know, discovering your show because, you know, through that, whatever, the betrayal crisis, whatever you want to call it, like none of this would happen if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, definitely. It's
At all.
Yeah.
Like, you'd be fucking, forget it.
Oh,
And
yeah,
this is a whole thing, you know?
Yeah, it's
This
where
is
it all
part of the
stemmed from.
calling,
Yeah,
right?
I believe it. I firmly believe it. I definitely believe Dave was meant to be part of this with me, and that's why I think it's a huge part of it. But let's talk about podcasting itself. Right? I want to pivot this way. Your
Whatever you
podcast, right? Your because it does. You started it stemming from. How did you start that again? Based on your
Here's what happened. Again, all right, so I've been in recovery. I'm in my 19th year, right?
Nice.
And like active, like not just like, oh, I'm not drinking and not drugging. I'm in the community. I go to meetings. I do the whole thing, right? So, all right, we're going to touch on the C word, and it's not a bad word. So when Corona happened and I had my business, right? I was going, and I saw what was happening like in humanity. Like people were like their whole life was pulled out from underneath them, right? So now my business went from handing out flyers to like whatever, like I do high-end shit now. We're not fucking around, right? So I'm going and picking up and dropping off rugs from people's homes who've been locked in their house for like 6 months, right? Now they're there on the Zoom. The kids are everywhere. It's fucking mayhem. And I would see husbands, wives, partners, whatever, the alphabet mafia, they're all included. Right? I would go and I would see the dread on their face, like they've been bludgeoned, because the same thing, the betrayal, right? The same shit. So, and I'd grab the rug and I would just say to them, do you want to just step outside and just talk for a minute? And people would be like, yes, please. Like, because whatever. If I'm the random rug guy, they can let it all out. Because whatever, they're going to pay me. I'm going to drop off the rug when it's done, or my guys will, or whatever. And they can be their unadulterated self, And I remember I would say to the guy, like, look, I would want to strangle my kid too. And he'd be like, yes, me too. Like, so like the whole identification where I saw people like they were really going through it. And because I'm in this huge recovery community, I got people all over the world. I can call at any time. I'm never alone, ever. I go to meetings on Zoom. I go meetings in real life for the rest of my life. So I've had this community for the last like almost 20 years, and people who are stuck inside that hamster wheel, they don't have that.
Yeah.
So the more that I was like having these real conversations with people, and it was similar to what we're doing right now, like no filter, like it's okay, you can just be yourself,
Right.
And I found that I found it liberating for them. They were thanking me a lot. Clients were like texting me and like whatever, just to have somebody that they can just rap with. So then I knew, I was like, all right, so I wanted to start a show. It's called The Spiritual Experience. It's on Spotify, Apple, everywhere, right? Similar to you guys, but not with all the fancy shit. Yeah, where we can have these kinds of conversations twice a week. So once a week, I'm interviewing somebody who's in recovery, because like people think like alcohol and drugs and like whatever this other kind of, nobody really knows unless you know. Like alcohol and drugs is not your problem. Your problem is your inability to deal with life. And that's why you need alcohol and drugs to fucking deal. Mm-hmm. So there's not even like war stories and who drank the most and everybody's connected, right? And the whole ego thing. But it's like, how do I deal with when life turns on me without picking up a drink, without picking up a drug? And going through those feelings out loud and putting it out there, because people identify with the feelings, whether you're an alcoholic or not, or a drug addict or not. It's like, life is life for everybody. So that's when I was just like, dude, I'll put the show together. I used an alias, right? My alias is J. Lewis. And it's the first letter of my first name and my actual middle name, right? Initially, I did it because I was like, I'm my unadulterated self, and I don't want to say something that some freaking Karen is going to find offensive. And then they're going to go find my rug washing company and then give me all 1 stars. And there's other people who depend on me. If it was just me alone, I don't care. But like eventually it's just like it's not going to matter anyway. But that was really the motivation of starting the show. So we do 2 episodes a week. One of me just babbling like Bill Burr style, and the other one is me sitting down with somebody else,
What's the goal?
Well, the goal is to just help as many people as we can.
Okay.
And that's the thing. The good thing about it for me is that I don't need the money.
So it's a good passion thing too.
Yeah, I don't like. Listen, if somebody decides to advertise or whatever and that kind of stuff, if that ever happens, cool. I will take that money, and maybe just so I can pay my workers more money, I'll do something like that, or I'll donate more money to the places that my business donates every month. Like you have to give back.
Yep.
Always. Oh my
100%.
God, I'm big on that.
Yeah.
Huge. Like if you're not putting something back, then what are you doing it for?
Right. Oh, we talking about how Jeff Bezos has all the money in the
fucking
world.
God.
And we're talking about his yacht.
His yacht,
And
yeah.
how they have to take apart the bridge in order to get it out of the harbor. I'm like, man, you're going to shut down the whole city just to take this thing out of the harbor. And it's just like, if you had that much money, like, well, why can't you just go take 10 billion of it and just like support a whole country for like a year, right? I was like, because you're going to make it back in a week anyways. But maybe I'm completely wrong about that. I don't know. I could be completely wrong about that, and that's not the way the finances work.
There's no good yachting in those parts of the world.
That's
apparently.
the problem, right? He's got to get his boat over there in order to see what he's got to pay for.
I think he did it just to make them take the bridge apart. Like, I'll show you.
And then when they put it back together and there's no parts, what do they call it? Amazon.
Right? All of a sudden,
Exactly. Exactly, right?
they need to go to Amazon to get the new page. He's going to provide that for them.
Yeah, but maybe he's like missing the point.
He
right?
is.
Like, so like the point is like, okay, obviously, you know, nobody wants to be broke. But you can't take it with you. So like how much money do I really need in
right?
reality? Like
Yeah.
how much do I really need? Like if we went to Luger's, how many steaks can each one of us eat at one time? Like
All of them.
I'll take the bacon. The bacon there is incredible. But like how much do I really, you know, it when you give, it feels so good.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing better than like,
Helping.
oh my God, bro. That's
Yeah.
that's the currency that you can't buy.
Well, it's you're living from abundance, whatever abundance means to you. If you feel comfortable in your income because you can't take it with you and everything's fine and you love what you do, then it's easy to give a part of that.
Right.
Giving back like that is not just a tangible thing, whether it's money or a meal or whatever, but it's part of the satisfaction you feel from doing the good thing for yourself. And you're trying to give that feeling to somebody else.
Yeah. Absolutely. You want everyone to have that, to share that same feeling.
And
that you
eventually,
have.
if you do it enough, you make other people feel good about being given too. Like, oh, maybe the feeling I have from receiving, now I can now pay it forward and give something, big or small, doesn't matter what it is, to the next person.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's just time, you know, because people like, they feel like they have to protect themselves, you know, and when you help with like the nutrition and the working out and all of that stuff, like that's like the effects. I mean, I'm sure you guys know, but like, I don't know how many times I've DM'd the Peloton guy who doesn't fucking respond, right? Ever, because he's got like 10 million followers, you know? But I'm like, bro, like today, I didn't want to end it all, but I didn't want to get up. But I clicked on that fucking bike and I went for it. And you were there barking at me to fix my face and that this is going to be a good day and the whole thing. And I powered through that wall of doubt. And that actually allows me to go out there and be a better dad, be a better brother, like, you know, be a better human because of that. Because the voice in the head is just like, oh, you're a loser. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. It's all fiction, you know? And that's what that's the exercise and the fitness. That's what it does in my life. That's how I break through all of those. I quiet all those voices.
Yeah. Know? So let's talk about your fitness part of your life, right? How does it? Where did it start with you with fitness, and what part? Besides, I know we were always active as kids. We played sports together and a bunch of stuff like that.
Right.
But but I didn't see you after high school at this point. So how did just working out?
Well,
start
what
off
happened
and
for me
evolve?
was that my insecurity. I thought that I had to look a certain way. And even if I was like half a dirtbag, at least I look good. So I could rope in a partner for like 6 months. But then after that, they smell it. And they're like, oh, this guy, he's a fucking zero. You know, and then like, and they swim away. Or he's all about himself in that way that he's a zero. Like, you know, the ego megalomania, right? So it was that. It was just always external. Like, oh, well, if I got a six pack and I got this, again, right, with the equation. If I look the right way, if I have the right apartment, if I have the right car, if I have the right job, then maybe then I'll never be alone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And maybe unwinding that now with you two gentlemen, maybe I was just scared to be alone the whole time. And I thought I needed that costume. You know, I mean, thank God it worked out because actually you're still tricking yourself into being healthy, you know, which is nice. But what happens eventually for me, you know, all of a sudden the bank account is enough. The woman is hot enough. And now I got to start doing it for myself. And that's where the struggle started happening. Bro, I've been with the same woman 8 years. I went from, when I met her, I was in peak, bro, I told you, people's elbow. I was in peak fucking condition, right? And I went from like, I was about 68 or 70, 168 or 170. I went to like 195 in 2 years, falling in love, all the desserts, the pasta and whatever, because like I didn't have to, there was no more, I didn't have to put on a commercial anymore.
I got this.
Yeah, I won.
You're set, yeah.
Yeah, bro, I got it. You know, my girl's South Bronx, Puerto Rican, incredible woman. And, you know, when in our day, you know, to be a white guy and get one of those, you had to like stab somebody, you know? But I got one, right? And she's just like my mom, man. She is, but my mom's from Puerto Rico. She's not from the Bronx. But she's just like my mom. Like, though, my girl makes her own sofrito. She don't fuck around. She's an incredibly selfless, warm human being, you know? So I was just like, all right. And so that means that and she thinks I'm worthy, you know? And that's where the fitness just started. A little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. There was a pot of rice every day. And like, you know, white rice is like love for the belly, you know? And then I had to do a lot of soul searching to be like, bro, 195, the camera can't, I'm freaking 5'7" with Tim's on. So that means I'm 5'5". I cannot be 195, you know? And I was just like, it was jello. I look like somebody who used to be in shape. And that is like the worst thing when you look like somebody like, oh, that guy, yo, I bet you 5 years ago he could probably go 7 rounds, you know? Now, you know, 3 rounds jump rope,
7
it's
donuts.
over. Yeah, forget it. It was just like, you know, and I had to, yeah, it was tough to get, because then the mentality of fitness changed, because then it became health and not just like, okay, you know, how do I look?
Right.
You know, and then I realized I didn't know anything at all, you know, so I had to get help. I got trainers. This is like, oh my God, so many years ago. It's like 5-6 years ago. And I'm not the first cowboy over the hill, but I read on some random article about keto, right? So I did keto, and I went and I boxed for 3 months, and I went 195 to 175, and then keto fucking left, and then it was torture, you know. But then from then until now, I haven't been above 175, and I keep myself healthy. You know, I got into running. I did all the midlife crisis stuff, right? What is it? Bikram yoga.
Did you?
Yeah, Bikram. Wow. But hello, Jew. This is what I did. I went to the yoga studio and I was like, oh, I'll clean the carpet in here once a month if you let me go for free. So that was that. So I did Bikram yoga.
You traded off.
Yeah. I did the swap. Bikram yoga. I did CrossFit. I did.
I remember you doing CrossFit. That's what I remember.
CrossFit was cool, and I enjoyed it. But what happened? I only did it for a couple of months because I started seeing the people getting hurt, right? No, because when you first go in there's like one guy, he's like, you know, and this is like in Brooklyn, right? So it's like, they're all Brooklyn, right? So the guy's like, yeah, my patella. He's like, they're like naming all these things that I don't know what it is, right? And he's like, yeah, my elbow, my this, my that, whatever. So, but then within a couple of months, you start to see each person coming in with that injury because whatever, like, things that I knew from when I was a kid. I took martial arts, I did karate, and I knew how to handle myself. But I also knew 90% of it was technique. You didn't have to be strong. You hit the right guy, you hit him in the right place at the right time, it's all going to be over. So, like, while we were doing CrossFit, all the way to fail, as you're approaching fail, where's the form?
Right.
The form left.
Why?
The form left a long time ago.
Yeah. If they're teaching you form, and I was in a good spot where where the guy who was running it, like, he really knew his shit. But like, who's gonna put the brakes on you? You know, there's 30 guys in a class. You're all doing it. You know what I'm saying? And that's how the injuries happen. So like, I was like, dude, I gotta stop. So I stopped that. You know. So yeah, I did Bikram, did that. And then eventually just, you know, lifting weights. Then I got into running, which was really good. I never ran before, ever, but running is like it's another way to break through that wall, because now when that depression comes, the bad voices, Voldemort, whoever you want to call, you got to give him a name, right? Frankie. So when Frankie comes, like, to break through that depression, I use exercise all the way. And running is so good for that because, like, I'm not a scientist, but I know about the endorphins and all the other shit that it releases actually makes me feel better.
Yeah.
And then I learned a little bit about nutrition. My girl now, she does.
Clearly, you don't do keto anymore.
No, I don't. I don't do keto, but I don't do Cheeto. So like, she'll do lasagna, but with like the vegetable noodles. For me, what are those? What's that vegetable, man? That they make the noodles out of? The green shit. The green not kale, bro. Somebody hit him with something. It's
zucchini.
Zucchini, yeah. She'll do the zucchini noodles.
Zoodles.
Yeah,
Zoodles.
but she makes it. She has like, bro, I told you, Puerto Rican with her hands. She does everything with her hands, nothing from the can. So she'll make the zucchini pasta for the lasagna, and then you just surrender, and and eventually it starts to taste good.
Pretty good, yeah. That's what I gotta say to you. After a certain
but
point,
it's good
it tastes good.
at our age, right? You can't.
Yeah.
You can't, but yeah, fitness is huge. If I don't exercise on a regular basis, meaning 4 or 5 times a week,
Okay.
I exercise and then like I train. Like I was telling John that I'm doing my first half marathon at the end of next month.
Okay.
So like then by the time I get to half marathon, I'm like at 72, 73, I'm going to be at like 68. So I'm like, okay. So I stay around fight weight, right? When I did Tough Mudder, same thing. I stay around 72, 73. And I did a lot of HIIT classes for like maybe 2 months. And then I went and I completed Tough Mudder. I think about 3 hours, a little over 3 hours. I did the 10-mile thing. I got the electrocution, everything. It was but it's so dope. I know you haven't done it. You have to do it. So there's a difference between like exercising now is for my mental well-being. Above everything, my girl's she's not going anywhere, bro. Her name is on the lease. My name is on the lease. She's not going anywhere. We have properties. Where the fuck is she going to go, bro? That's it. So now it's, oddly enough, it's for my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the training is for
An actual event or something to do.
Yeah, and if I don't have that goal, sometimes I'll like meander and I'll just be milling around in the gym. And I'll say, okay, if I drink half a C4, go in the sauna for 30 minutes, I'll think that I worked out. But like, no, but that I didn't.
Yourself. Yeah,
I didn't know that the shift would happen in my life of what fitness would be.
Right for you.
Right,
Yeah,
because before it was just like I need to like. What are those birds that they make those fucking things? They do the dance for the other bird, and then they have all this design inside of their
peacocks?
wings. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
like to attract a mate. I
Yeah,
thought
peacocking,
that's
yeah.
what exercise was from fitness was for that. But now it's for like, dude, who do I want to be? Guys 60 years old hobbling around Hulk Hogan style with fucked up, or just, you see people our age.
Replacement joints and everything, yeah.
Bro, or they're just like a fat freaking mess. And I'd have never met, well, all right, 20% of fat people are happy. The other 80% are like, and I'm prone to that. I'm prone to that depression, and it's tough.
Yeah.
But that's what fitness is. It's literally for, and plus, and I know I'm babbling. Plus, I also know it's a good example for my kids. Mm-hmm. So they can't be like, similar to what you're talking about with your dad, right?
Yeah.
You don't want your son to fucking be on a podcast when he's 40 years old talking about my dad ain't never loved me.
My dad ain't shit.
Yeah. My dad, he was jacked, but he fucking never said anything. Or like they're gonna be like, dude, my dad ran marathons. My dad exercised. My dad, he ate right. That doesn't mean, listen, my birthday's on Friday. I'm gonna be 43. Sure. And so Saturday, bro, pizza party. They're not fucking around.
We're invited, I think.
Yeah.
We're trying to say.
We're going to Brooklyn to eat some pizza.
So like,
some white pie.
It wasn't, so I can show them like, this is a healthy lifestyle. We do, if they can see it, because I preach to them like, bro, when I see one of these kids with fucking McDonald's or something, I'm like, little boo, That's fucking poison. I'm letting you know right now. It's like, but it tastes good. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know, because you're 15, but I'm letting you know right now that shit is poison.
Yeah.
And a little bit at a time, when they see me stay away from all of that stuff and whatever, it has them, you plant the seed instead of just kind of pointing the finger at them. They start to make healthier choices, Then I realize I'm being a good parent.
Well, so let's talk about your son. Does he follow in your footsteps along those lines, if anything? Does he
kid.
do any of that stuff?
My
He's
son-
27, man.
No, he's all right. So my son is 27, and he is everything that I wish I could have been at that age. That at first I'd like, we make this joke like he made it out of high school, like no kid. He went to college, no kids, no felonies, no like he's lapping me, right? So none of that stuff. So, but he is, he played basketball his whole life. So he was always running and he was always in shape. But as he started getting older, he stopped. And then he moved to Texas and he really fucking stopped because he's a gamer and he works at Apple and he does photography stuff. So, but what I share with him is that hour or 90 minutes or whatever that I invest in my physical health actually makes me more successful in all those other hours. So like, you need to, like, ideas come to me when I'm running or when I'm lifting, and it's not like osmosis. It's like finally I'm capable of being open to not like The Secret or like whatever, but like you can listen to that inner voice when you're quiet and you just lift, shrug.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, that flyer sucks. I'm gonna use another one. But that's where it comes for me, and it makes me more effective everywhere else. And so my kids, they see that, because then when I don't go, because I'm not perfect, bro, I turn into the sheriff, right? I come home, whose socks are these? Blah, blah, and I turn into that guy. And then my girl be like, bro, you going to the gym today? You going to a meeting today? Like, what are you doing? Yeah. So like,
so she knows you like that. She goes, you need the
100%.
outlet. She's like, go do your thing and come back.
They are very, here's where they're compliant. They know that I have to live this life of eating as best I can, exercising regularly, going to all my meetings and doing my stuff, meditating, praying, all that, so that I can show up and actually be a nice guy and treat them with dignity and with respect, and not bring the credit card thing on the baseball field, not bring that home. Right? That's how I unwind all of that. And they're respectful of that, so because they know what happens when that doesn't happen. Listen, nobody's going home and flipping over tables, right? But sometimes not anymore, right? But sometimes the energy, right? Like you want to have like that.
Yeah.
They'll just know. They're like, ooh, rough day in the street,
Yeah.
And it's tough. I don't want to be that guy,
But it's in you.
I think it's in all of us. And I think also, so the other thing is okay, and maybe you guys can talk me out of this or talk me into it. I don't know. Okay, so I'm also at the stage of my life where now I got to go. I went to this, to a doctor, right? Incredible woman, Rebecca Brown. She's in Brooklyn. She does like hormone therapy. So I'm like, yo, I think the T's fucking getting low, right? Because I'm I'm 43, and even though I'm active, whatever, and like I'm not one of these guys that's in the gym that's gonna be like, oh, I know a guy, like, dude. I don't want that part of my life. Like I don't want needles. But I feel it's part of being a responsible person, and the stigma of like TRT or like whatever is like gone. We're like, okay, I can go to in theory. Well, I went to the doctor and she's like, listen, first thing we're going to do is we're going to do some freaking blood work, right? She's like, that's step one. Because in my mind, I'm going in there and I'm like, I want to be able to bench, like, but the reality is that, she educated me a lot. Like, look, she has women clients, because apparently women testosterone counterbalances stuff, right? So she's like, oh, you don't have to take injections. Now they have like these pellets, and the pellets is like not like synthetic testosterone. It's like real stuff. Like she was like breaking the whole thing down to me in very palatable things, not like trying to sell me a dream, bro. And then she had this other thing, which this is what piqued my interest. She had this thing. It's called like sound wave treatments. Like, you ever hear of that stuff? Yeah. So she has like one of these mechanisms. I was like, and I looked, and it looked like, I was like, bro, I am not putting my noodle in that thing, because it looked like a huge machine. It's like, no, you know, it's a treatment to help bring blood flow down to, you know, your penis, you know, and then all these other things and whatever and blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, that sounds like incredible. It's like, yeah, I know, but blood work, because you might not even need or
right,
qualify
first thing.
of any of this stuff. And it's like that level of honesty, you know, unbelievable.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's incredible. She's easy on the eyes too. So I should hook you guys up so she could come here and spit it out. But
Well, this is what we were talking about. We want to talk to someone specifically about this stuff.
oh no, dude, she has her own practice. It's in Brooklyn. It's incredible. So she does. I know she does from what she told me, like obviously the hormone therapy. She does pellet stuff, and she does it's not like they call it shockwave therapy, but it's not like
Yeah,
shock.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but it's like all this like cutting edge stuff. But again, but somebody who's responsible,
Right.
you know, not somebody who's like, you know, there's a gym. Can I say a gym? Okay.
yeah.
There's a Crunch gym that has hormone therapy on the first floor of the freaking gym in Brooklyn near Coney Island next to the BJ. So you can go upstairs and get your tan on and get buff and whatever and go downstairs, and the place does not look that legit.
Wow.
It looks like they might be like, hey, you know, like not even you pay, we're okay. Like it looks like that kind of place where this is like a medical
No,
doctor.
we had one of those syringes somewhere.
Yeah, like, you know, they're like, oh no, use this needle. Yeah, so which is weird. And this was totally, because I was like paranoid about that, but this was totally not that. This was like a legit doctor visit where she's like, yeah, you just got to come in and I'll show you, these are the treatments that we have available. And I might deliver you some good news that you might not need it. Because all of that other stuff like sexual wellness and whatever, that's a lot of it is like psychological.
Right.
Dude, the C4 is down there. You have the Red Bull. If I have too much of that, guess what? I'm pushing rope. It ain't happening, right? I'll be nervous. I'll be jacked with the niacin. I'll be jacked. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So like, but I also know to respect the evolution of our age.
Yeah.
That this is not something to be ashamed about. And I'm not going to go to the gas station. Let me get the T1000, whatever, with the gorilla. Like, you know, who's going to do? I mean, I hope you don't do that, but like.
Not anymore.
No, what? We're at this age where we can just go to a doctor. To be honest
Right.
with you. But that's just it. You know, we've pushed that on this podcast before with Vinny and everyone else. We're like, everyone's always recommending just get your numbers done. As long as you get your
Right.
numbers done, you'll know what you have to do at that point. There's nothing to be ashamed of for us. Again, man, it's
Right,
weird
because
to
maybe
say.
because you guys are humble, where like if you're in a gym, like, you know, you want to be one of the guys. No, listen, I got this, and he pulls out the sandwich bag of the.
I had a guy who
Whatever.
showed up to do a nutrition consult with me, and he was asking about it. He's like, yeah, you know, he's like, but I do 100 milligrams of Sustanon every week. I'm like, so you're just shooting steroids, essentially. He's like, yeah. I'm like, but let me guess, when you come off, you feel like garbage. He's like, completely. I'm like, yeah, because you're doing it all wrong.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Just
a good
you crash and everything.
a good hormone replacement will, one, they need to look at your free testosterone, not your total. And then they'll generally prescribe some kind of testosterone, most times a fertility drug, and sometimes an anti-estrogen. But it's going to be dependent upon the individual and how often what your blood work shows over time as you keep going.
Right. It's like a program.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
It's not. It's also not. It's not a.
bunch of injections over. That's not what it is.
And it's not a one-time fix either. It's usually something you just low dosages that you're just kept on and monitor over time.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
microdosing,
because
yeah.
that was the other fear, right? That like, okay, if I start, let's say I am low, do I have to take this thing forever? Or like, do I like, you know, the one thing I did ask, I was like, and I told her, don't take it the wrong way, but I don't want the boobs. Like the man boobs are like whatever. And she was just like, no, like, you know, you take this counters that, like whatever. Similar to what, like somebody who's trying to help somebody, you know? I wouldn't even know what to say if I was in your shoes and the guy showed up. Yeah, by the way, I'm doing this. And then, you know, it's tough, man.
Yeah, in our line of work, it happens enough where just be blunt with it.
He showed me his blood work. I was like, well, this is why this is here, and this is why this is here. So if you want to keep feeling like shit, by all means, continue to do this. But if you want to do it right, you should go here.
That's all it is. Just be straight up with these people at this point.
Yeah.
Who cares at this point? Like, he came to you. Here's your answer. Like, there should be no shame in giving him the straightforward answer at that point.
Right. So what's next for the show? I love this thing. I watch it. YouTube.
Well, hopefully we get some other good stuff going, and we go on the road. We do some other fun stuff.
Go on the road.
Go on the road. Go across the country. Interview other people. Not
I like to just
Zoom.
go across the street to the restaurant and do an episode in there. That'd be great.
Eat while we do it. Critique some other stuff that's happening.
I love it.
And it's just the big thing is I wanted this to be more of an educational thing. So I think that putting this whole thing together and start doing some more educational stuff would be great. We always want people to ask questions and find out what people are looking for, so we can always come up with a big topic that we could focus on. Like I told Dave, there's a show, Fit to Fat to Fit. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Peripherally.
Right. So there's a show out there that I want us to watch. It's a series. There's 2 seasons of it, of a trainer that gains 40 to 60 pounds purposely to lose it with their client.
Right.
And it's
Fucking stupid.
the dumbest thing ever, to be honest with you, because your lifestyle is completely different than the client's. It's very
Right.
different. Like just because you gain weight in 4 months doesn't mean you have the same habits they do. So that's why I was like, I want us to break that stuff down, break those myths and stuff like that. I want to call those people out, whatever. Like it's reality at this point, right? And I think that's what we kind of bring to, because we really are the old school trainers of the last 2 decades. We've been around for 23 years now. We've been doing this together for a long time, and we have a lot to give, and that's where this kind of stems from. Just giving a lot more information out there.
I also think that maybe that trainer doesn't understand the psychological component that
That's the thing, right?
normal
So
fat person is, right?
they've shotgunned themselves up to 40, whatever it is, even if it's 10 pounds, right? So they understand
10 pounds is a lot.
So they understand all they have to do is just start eating and maybe modify their working out, or they don't modify their working out at all and they just shotgun a ton of food, which would be fucking great for a few minutes. But they seem to forget, or whoever designed the show forgets, that the people that are living in the bodies, they might not have seen it coming, and all of a sudden they feel they're trapped in a prison they don't know how to get out.
That's exactly what it is. Yep.
But at this trainer, none of those hardships, knows how he got there, knows how to get himself out. Just a reversal of actions. It's just it doesn't play at all, other than for people to be like, oh well, look, he did it. Maybe give somebody a glimmer of hope and motivation, but it's completely ignoring all the nuance.
It's like very disingenuous.
It just
right?
ignores all the nuance of what keeps people in the hamster wheel, and sometimes not even understanding how they let themselves get to that point.
Right.
And as Jarred said earlier, it's not even about the food or the inactivity. It's the getting lost in their own emotions, or did I make the right decision? Did I do this? And they get stuck in that depressive cycle, and it just handcuffs them from doing anything.
Well, yeah, that whole thing it's a huge factor. Like, they just don't know the life of what their client just lived for the last 10, 15 years.
Right.
And then you try to fit that all in 4 months. I'm like, I think almost all of the trainers own their own personal training studios. So they do it for a living.
Yeah.
They're in a gym the whole time. So a lot of them get mad at their clients for not losing as much weight in the same time frame they're losing their weight. I'm like, you can't do that. And I was like, these people are working 9 to 5 jobs, regular jobs. They're not in the gyms. You're in the gym. You get your 2 to 3 workouts a day if you're going that nuts over it, and you have muscle memory. I was like, you are already.
But again, even if these, as shitty a concept as this is, even if these people are losing weight, what's to get mad at?
Because they're not losing it fast enough.
Yeah, but
That's
they
the
took
whole
this
thing.
step, and
Wait,
they're
they were
doing.
barking
They're
at them?
doing.
Oh, they were.
I've never seen
yeah.
it.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
they were
That's so
completely
stupid.
degrading their clients. They're like, I don't believe them. They're not working hard enough. They must be doing something wrong. I was like,
Yeah, they're listening to your dumb fucking ass.
and
Bro,
that-
we should hide in the corner. Yeah, that's so crazy. I'm sorry.
yeah, and that's why I
snapped
say,
for a minute, because that's like fucked up. Because exactly what you were saying, like nobody wakes up with a list of goals like, I want to be obese. Let me put that on the side.
Right.
Right.
Heart
Nobody-
disease. I've been looking for a good size.
Yeah. You know what? I want type 2. Like it's not, and just like I'm sure you guys understand, like it's a similar thing to me with the alcohol and drugs. Like it doesn't happen. It's like a slow drip, and the next thing you know, because like, you're pacifying this thing in your life, right?
Something that's very telling about this in terms of also not understanding what someone's going through. When I was with somebody who admittedly had an alcohol problem, it bothered me incessantly, and because it wasn't good for her and it wasn't good for the relationship. And I thought I was trying to do the right thing by maybe encouraging her to get help, saying I'd be there for you if you want to find somebody who I can do that. And I would also get really upset when she would try and she would screw up. And I'm like, you're just not doing the right thing. And I remember one time we were having an argument, and she's like, you have no idea what it's like to be like out of control and under the influence of an addiction. And it was one of the few times I actually sat there and was like, fuck, she's right. I don't know what it's like. We can both identify the things that aren't any good about it, but I have no idea what keeps you in that cycle. I have no idea what you experience, what you're going through in your life that makes you feel like you need that. So even though the problem still needed to be addressed at some point, it made me try to be much more understanding of the things that would set her off and push her into those places, and try to listen more and pull back all my judgment, even though it was a thing that affected us. But I had to remove all the judgment from it because I didn't understand what it was like to feel like you were under the control of something else.
Well, the thing is, with specifically with that or anything else, is that you learn, and this is for, if I'm speaking being in your shoes, if you educate yourself on the disease, right? Mm-hmm. You know that it's not personal, but you being with somebody like that is always going to be a wild card. Yeah. Whether it's drugs and alcohol, or like I said, it could be food, it could be gambling, and the same voices that tell John or tell me or like whatever, they just happen to pick that one thing that will give them that little adrenaline to just make it through, right? But the problem with somebody who's addicted to alcohol or drugs is that they actually have like a biological addiction, especially like alcohol. Like, there are people who can be heavy drinkers and then like whatever, and then they'll never stop. Like for me, I knew in hindsight, once I learned about alcohol consumption or whatever, I got educated in recovery about really what an alcoholic is that my body does not digest alcohol the same way as a normal human being. So whether I had a good dad or a bad dad or good or bad, it didn't matter. Like when I start drinking, it creates like a phenomenon of craving, and then I cannot stop. It doesn't exist for me. Where like, okay, example would be this. You're a normal guy. You have 5-6 cocktails, or 8 if you can, right? You're going to get sleepy, right? I have 5 or 6 or 8. I'm ready to get busy. Alcohol is a stimulant for me. It's not like a depressant. So like when I was a kid and we'd be drinking like 40s, like we were talking about before, my friends would fall out on the street and I'd still be up and awake because my body was not it was not acting. It had an abnormal effect when it came to alcohol. Now you couple that with somebody who's adolescent and doesn't know how to deal with life, and then, the crazy dad baseball field, and then, to ask a young person whether they have that kind of home or not to, not take a drink, you're asking a lot, from any teenager, right? To expect a teenager to go through junior high school, adolescence, with puberty, it's like a nuclear bomb going off. And then like you got the hot girl over there, and then like, I don't know, should I not talk to her? But if I smoke this weed, maybe I'll be like a little sleepy, and then maybe I'll be a little bit more comfortable. Like I think that's just naturally part of life. But somebody who will become physically dependent, they have that biological marker that there are 2 people from the same house. Somebody will have it, somebody will not. Mm-hmm. But you as the partner, it's like somebody who's diabetic. You got to know, like, if they're type 1, at any moment, they could, if they're not on top, if they're not taking care of their shit, they could lose their sight. They could, I know people that had this stuff cut off. So it's like, And similar to what you were saying, where you take away your judgment and you just, I need to respect this disease.
Yeah.
You know, like somebody who's allergic to peanuts or somebody like whatever, like, you know. But I mean, I never saw somebody stand on the edge of the woods and be like, oh, I can't wait to go rolling around in the poison ivy, right? Similar to like donuts and pizza and all this other stuff that gives you that comfort. And then to be put on television for some fucking animal to be yelling at them like that, it's like madness. For people in your business, I'm sure it's infuriating for somebody.
I'd never heard about it until you brought it up.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's why I was like, guys, watch it. Just you come up with your own opinion on how stupid it is. So.
Yeah, it's like abuse. It's like straight up. It's like abuse stuff, man. Yeah.
So, well, listen. Unfortunately, it's time for us to stop. It's time
Perfect.
To end. It's 8:30. But before we go, Jarred, man, appreciate everything you had to say. Everything you brought to the table. It was great stories. I truly appreciate everything. Before we move forward, like, just let everyone know, like, with your business and everything else, or how they can get in contact with you. If anyone has, problems, recovering guys also that want to know, where can they reach out to you? Sorry.
Okay, so nobody call me to wash any rugs. I'm joking. The name of my
Discount code baseball field for 10% off your first
discount
Open
code.
up a new bank account.
Discount code pushing rope. That's a discount code. But okay, so JL Carpet and Upholstery is my company. You can just Google me. We have hundreds and hundreds of reviews. The name of our podcast is called The Spiritual Experience. It's on Apple, Spotify, everywhere else. It'll say The Spiritual Experience with Jay Lewis. We also have an Instagram, Facebook page for both of those. You can DM me. You can find me. You can find John. John knows how to find me.
And he'll respond to the DMs, I'm assuming. Unlike the Peloton guy.
No, exactly. Alex Toussaint, that's his name. I'm shouting you out. But like,
Everyone
no, he's a wizard.
Slide in his DM box right now.
Yeah,
You've made him more famous. Great.
And the whole thing is that that's what I love about this show. In a similar way to mine, is that like we let the veil down. Like, you are not alone.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Like, you're not alone. Wherever you are, we're here. That's it.
Cool. Well, truly, again, we thank you for being on the podcast. And with that being said, say goodbye, everyone.
Good
All
night.
right. Peace.